Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome to The Last Lap. In today's video we're going to be breaking down everything from championship weekend, all three NASCAR series. But before we hop into the video, I just want to quickly remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you did that. But let's go ahead and hop into it. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me after a very long weekend in Phoenix. But yeah, Matthew, how you feeling? Let's go ahead and hop into all this talk about all the championship stuff that happened this weekend at Phoenix.
Well, I'm very sad. I mean, there's no more NASCAR now until February. What am I going to do now? I mean, what am I going to do this coming weekend? I mean, there's going to be nothing on. So, yeah, it's a sad time now, but I'm sure this long season will fly by fast. And next thing you know, we'll be talking about 2024 coming up.
Yeah, thankfully NASCAR has a very long season, so the off season is pretty short, just a little bit over 2 months until we get back to Daytona next year. But we're going to quickly talk about the Truck and Xfinity race and championships first, so I'll do that, and then I'll let Matthew chime in on that a little bit, and then we'll talk about the Cup Championship. So starting off with probably the craziest race of the weekend, the Truck Series race. It seemed like Corey Heim had the truck to beat. That's until Mr. Carson Hocevar decided to strike once again. He got into Corey Heim and spun him out. And then a little bit later in the race, Corey Heim ends up getting Carson Hocevar back in turns 1 and 2, which brought up a caution with just a few laps to go. Grant Enfinger, he actually had control of the championship over Ben Rhodes before that caution came out. And then that set up overtime. Grant Enfinger, he gets forced up the track. He got some damage. He was forced to pit under a caution that came out during that overtime attempt. He got 4 tires. And then Ben Rhodes, he got damage on another overtime restart after Zane Smith missed a shift, jacked up the whole front and side of Ben Rhodes' truck. So that set up I think it was 4 overtimes. It set up the 4th overtime. Ben Rhodes is able to hang on barely and win the championship. Grant Enfinger almost got back to him in the final corner and almost was able to pass Ben Rhodes, but he was able to hang on and get the Truck Series championship. And the only reason I somewhat wanted Ben Rhodes to win this championship is because of his post-race interviews and press conferences, because a few years ago there's a couple funny viral clips of him having a few too many of these in the media center. And that was the case once again. So Ben Rhodes gets the Truck Series championship.
It was just like Jimmy on his 21st birthday.
Complete opposite of that. But yeah, Ben Rhodes gets the Truck Series championship. Good for him. But yeah, he had his crew chief come back too in the middle of the season too, that he won it with back in 2021, I think it was. So good reunitation call. Sure, we'll go with that. Good call to get them back together to get that championship. Ben Rhodes gets it done. And yeah, the truck race, it was a crap show. I mean, I got home and I think it was right when Heim got Hocevar back, and then it was like another hour until that race finished just because of 4 overtime finishes. Absolutely crazy, absolute crapshoot. Onto Xfinity, though, is a little bit more calm. Justin Allgaier, he ended up spinning out early. Didn't really get a lot of damage to his car, though. It was mostly a battle between Cole Custer and John Hunter Nemechek. I was at work for the Xfinity race, so I didn't get to see a lot of it. But I did see that Custer and Nemechek were at the front most of the race. And there was a green-white checker to end that race as well. And Cole Custer was able to hang on and get that one done. So great for Cole Custer there. He made a step to come back down to the Xfinity Series. His first year down there, gets a championship for them. So great for Cole Custer to be able to come back down and get a championship in Xfinity. And he can try to do it again next season because he'll be back in that 00 Xfinity car next year. So good for him. Matthew, do you have any thoughts about the Truck or Xfinity race before we hop into the main event for the Cup Championship?
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to Ben Rhodes and Cole Custer for winning their respective championships. Um, I mean, the truck race in general, that was. Oof. I thought I was falling asleep at one point. I'm like, am I falling asleep or is this race not over yet? but but yeah, that was that was not good. That was not good at all. I mean, of course, it just comes down to these these kids are in these trucks now. They literally like they haven't heard the word. Nobody's ever told them no their whole life. Like they just lack the discipline. They lack maturity, and yeah, they just all they do is just dive bomb, wreck each other, bump each other out of the way. Um, I think NASCAR needs to find a way to be more strict on the lower series, particularly the truck series. I don't think Xfinity series is that big of a problem, but the truck series especially, I think NASCAR needs to be more strict on it because you gotta teach these kids that you just can't send it in and there'll be no consequences. You just can't bump someone out of the way and you think, oh, I'll be fine. I mean, it's not worth tearing up thousands of dollars of trucks here that these teams have spent a lot of time building. And I just think NASCAR needs to find a way to be more strict. If you have to be like F1 and penalize every single wreck, so be it. I mean, you gotta get these kids to understand that what they do, they gotta make the right decisions. They can't be, just throwing it in carelessly. So that's all I have to really say about that. And as for the Xfinity series, way much better than Friday night. Cole Custer is, I mean, I think he was the clear best car. Yeah, John Hunter Nemechek was also very good, but there was something about Cole Custer's car that was just different, and he was able to win the championship, which I'm happy for him. I know he's had a very rough couple of years in the Cup Series ever since he won his first race in his rookie year at Kentucky, and it's just been a roller coaster for him. And I think right now he's in the best spot. I mean, he's back in a series where he can win on a week to week basis, weekend to weekend basis, and he just won the championship. So I think he's perfectly happy where he's at right now. I know he keeps saying he wants to go back to Cup, but I highly doubt that. I mean, look at SHR Cup right now. Do you really want to be back 20th again? So if I were him, I was taking the Xfinity Series and trying to win more championships, which I think he can do, especially with Nemechek going to Cup, Josh Berry going to Cup. Um, yeah, so congratulations to Cole Custer. So let's get right into the main series now.
All right. Before we quickly hop into that, I do want to say one thing about what you said about the truck series, about the lack of maturity, and I do agree. And I don't think it's just because they're young. It's not because they're like intelligent or they're dumb drivers. It's just because they're young. And when you're young, you don't really think about the consequences sometimes. And the truck series, they need a few more veterans in the sport. I think it was Tyler Reddick saying that Matt Crafton is basically doing all the work trying to keep these young guys in line, and you need a few guys, kind of like in the Xfinity series with Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier. You need a couple more drivers like that in the truck series to try and mentor the young guys, to tell them, you can't do that. That's not a smart way to race, stuff like that. And Denny Hamlin was saying that, he said it for a while now, that there needs to be some kind of penalty when you intentionally wreck someone. Not payback, but if you just drive into them without a care in the world and wreck them like that. Denny Hamlin saying there needs to be some kind of penalty where they drop to the rear of the field or give up a spot or something like that. But those are just a few ideas that I wanted to share real quick. But onto the Cup Series race and championship. William Byron, he started on the pole and ended up leading very early in the race. He dominated most of stage one, ended up winning the stage, but his car ended up fading shortly after that and was not as strong the rest of the race. Larson, Blaney, and Bell, they fought really hard for the second place in the championship for most of stage two. Kevin Harvick in his final race took the lead in stage two, and that's when William Byron started to fade. Ryan Blaney, he ended up taking the top spot for the championship away from William Byron. And unfortunately, quickly after that, Christopher Bell, he blew a rotor in the tire and ended up hitting the wall, ending his championship run. Tough break for Christopher Bell, his second time in the championship second time in a row. Just bad luck. He was complaining about his brakes being really hot and starting to go away, and his crew said that they couldn't do anything about it, and shortly after that, ended up destroying the rotor, ended up running it into the outside wall, ruining his day. But in stage two, Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain controlled the main race for the lead. Buescher won the stage, and then on the caution for the stage, Chris Buescher lost 7 spots on pit road. I believe Harvick lost 4 spots on pit road. William Byron, he got the championship lead back from the pit stops, and then after that, Ryan Blaney ended up taking it back from William Byron. And then, where am I? Yeah, Blaney, he maintained the championship lead after green flag pit stops, and he actually got into a really intense fight for the lead with Ross Chastain and Martin Truex Jr., to the point they were 3 wide at one point, and everybody was just kind of like, Ryan Blaney, what are you doing, man? You got the fastest car. You don't need to wreck yourself or get in any trouble racing for the race win when you're outrunning William Byron and Kyle Larson by a long shot. So Blaney finally ended up backing out of it, and there was a caution with 37 laps to go. And once again, the Hendrick cars, Larson and Byron beat Blaney off of pit road once again. And a few cars took 2 tires. There's a little bit of mixed strategy, but Ross Chastain, he regained the lead on the restart, and then Larson, Blaney, and Byron were the championship contenders in that order. And Ryan Blaney, he ended up taking the championship lead away from Kyle Larson with 20 laps to go. Ross Chastain, he would win the race, and Ryan Blaney would win the championship. The first time in this format, the champion has not won the race. And who does it? Ross Chastain spoils the party. So yeah, Chastain wins the race. Blaney wins the championship. Kevin Harvick concludes his career. So I'll talk about Ryan Blaney for a little bit. Actually, I'm going to steal a tweet from Jeff Gluck here that I have saved on some stats about Ryan Blaney in the postseason. So until Ryan Blaney ended up winning Talladega last month, Ryan Blaney went 15 straight races with no finishes better than 9th. And then Blaney and his team caught fire in the 3rd round with finishes of 6th, 2nd, and 1st, and finished 2nd in the championship race with the best car of the 4. That's the quote that Jeff Gluck says, and he ends it by saying, "That'll win you a title." So I'm not going to go into the whole, does this playoff format belong in NASCAR, all that kind of stuff. Matthew and I have already discussed that. We have opposite views about it, which is funny because they were switched, and now they're switched the opposite way. But that's just how the playoffs are now. Ryan Blaney, he caught fire at the right time, won Talladega, had a great 3rd round, finished 6th, 2nd, and 1st, and then just carried that momentum straight into Phoenix, a track where he's been good at, and ended up winning the championship. On the other hand, you have drivers like Martin Truex Jr., the regular season champion, who didn't even make the Final Four. Drivers like William Byron, who had the most wins this season and was the most consistent. He finished 3rd in the championship. So, NASCAR's not fair. And it never is fair, but it's not, it's more unfair now than it was. But that's just how it is nowadays, and we just have to live with it. Ryan Blaney, I think he's still a deserving champion. Won 3 races this season, won the Coke 600, won at Talladega, and then won at Martinsville. So 3 races, 3 wins, still a deserving champion in my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the race itself and Ryan Blaney. So Matthew, go ahead and share your thoughts about what you saw from Phoenix for the Cup race.
Well, first and foremost, I thought this was the best Phoenix championship race that we had since the championship race came to Phoenix. I thought I saw a way better race than the years past. I mean, the first and second stages weren't anything special, but that third stage was amazing to watch because you had Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, and Mark Truex Jr. battling for the lead. And then the late caution came out, and Kyle Larson, with an amazing pit stop, gets out front. And Ryan Blaney lost a couple spots, but Ryan Blaney, with his clutch genes, was able to pass by Larson, and Ryan Blaney ended up winning the championship. So congratulations to Ryan Blaney, absolutely deserving. Can we stop this notion about who's deserving under Sim? Can we just stop, please? Look, Ryan Blaney absolutely deserves the championship because he brought the best car to Phoenix. He had the best car. You know, Willie Byron, yes, he won 6 races, but apparently Hendrick missed the setup on it. They weren't the fastest car, so oh well, that's their fault. I mean, it's their fault. And Kyle Larson, they had a couple weeks in advance to have a nice setup ready for Phoenix, but guess what? They didn't. They didn't have the best car either, so that's on them. Can we just stop this notion about who deserves it? This one's deserved. This one's undeserving. You need to show up to Phoenix. That's what matters most. Winning matters most, which I think that's a good thing. Winning should be the ultimate goal here. It shouldn't be about, oh, if I just stay in, 6th, 10th, I'll be fine. Come on. Winning needs to be the most important thing. And that's what Ryan Blaney did. I mean, he won that close finish at Talladega. And then he was clutch in Martinsville, having the best car there. And they brought the same thing to Phoenix, where he had the best car out of the 4. Now, I do feel bad for Christopher Bell, with his brake rotors exploding, basically, which I'm sure that's probably a JGR setup thing because I didn't see that happening to any other car in that race. So I think that's just a JGR thing. But I mean, I am happy for Ryan Blaney. I have been critical of him in the past for being kind of overrated. I mean, at one time, I think it was true because, yeah, he was a guy that could win. I mean, it was a guy that could run up front, but he just wasn't winning a lot in his career. I mean, he'll just win his one race and he'll just stay consistent the rest of his time. And he went winless last year. So, yeah, I did think he was overrated, but after what I've seen this year, I think he was able to prove everybody wrong. I mean, he was able to win a lot more races this year, and he had the dominant car the last 2 races. So I am happy for Ryan Blaney. Of course, this is the back-to-back championships for Penske, and Penske has now won both next-gen championships with the next-gen car. So maybe Austin Cindric's next. He better, because this year, oof, terrible. But yeah. I mean, William Byron, he had himself an amazing season. I thought he had a good car at the start, but it was clear right from the start that Ryan Blaney just had the better car because he started in mid-pack and he was able to drive up to the front with the car that, with this short track package, which everyone says is so hard to pass, he was able to pass all those cars. So that is just absolutely impressive. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was a better Phoenix race than I thought, especially that third stage was absolutely fascinating. And don't worry, I'm not going to be like NBC. I am not going to forget about Ross Chastain winning the race. He did win the race, so congrats to the Watermelon Man. I mean, I think him giving us some autographs here last weekend give him some power here from last weekend because he was flying. Um, so I'm sure that will help Ross Chastain and Trackhouse's confidence going into next year with his new sponsor, Busch Beer. Keep in mind. And speaking of Busch Beer, this was also Kevin Harvick's final race. He had a very good car. I mean, at one point he was leading laps. I thought, man, imagine if he actually won in his final race. But he ended up finishing seventh, still a top 10, which kept his record 21 consecutive top 10s at Phoenix, which is amazing. That is just absolutely impressive. I don't think I don't know if anyone could beat that, to be honest. That's just insane. But what an amazing Hall of Fame career it was for Kevin Harvick. I cannot wait to see how he does in the TV booth next year. Unfortunately, he's with a TV partner that is terrible right now in terms of giving out good content. But good luck to him. But overall, and what an amazing 75 years in NASCAR was of the 75th season. And yeah, there were definitely some highs and definitely some lows, but still, what an amazing season it was. So now we just get ready for 2024 now.
Alright, and I almost forgot to say this in my last part, but I'm going to say it now because it's on top of my mind. But Ryan Blaney is smoking that Kyle Petty pack this week because of Kyle Petty calling him overrated and mid and all that stuff. And, like, I've seen so many tweets from Kyle Petty, like, responding to people on his thread about people just coming at him. It's just hilarious. But anyways, we do have a little bit of business to tidy up for the season because, well, going into the championship last week, I said Ryan Blaney was going to win the championship. You said William Byron. Ryan Blaney ended up winning. As for our playoff brackets, I have those right here. I just kind of did like a little bit of... I basically counted how many drivers we got correct per round. So if you guys can kind of see on here, I put a check mark next to every driver I had advancing to each round. And I just added those up for each round. So for me in round 1, I had 11 drivers moving on correctly. In the second round, I had 7 out of 12. And in the third round, I had 2 out of 8. And then you, on the other hand... Ooh, microphone's going crazy. You had 10 correct moving out of round 1, 5 correct going out of round 2, and 2 correct going into the final 4, which leaves our total points. You have 17, and I had 20, so at least I won something this year. At least I won our playoff bracket. But as for our fantasy, on the other hand, I do have to give you props. You did at least beat me in our fantasy league. You got third with 6,954 points. I got 7th with 6,379. So you won the fantasy, I won the playoffs. Excited to start that again next year. But yeah, Matthew, do you have any comments on that or the season in general before we finish this video up?
Like I said, what an amazing season it was. 75 years. I think my favorite moment from this year was, of course, the inaugural Chicago street race. Just racing on the streets of Chicago to see NASCAR on the streets for the first time in their history. And not only that, seeing Shane Van Gisbergen and his first career start winning in the Cup Series who won his Cup debut in the first time in like 60 years. So that was just absolutely amazing to watch this year. That is my personal favorite moment. But yeah, what an amazing 75 years.
Yeah, it was a great season overall. We'll probably have to make a video some point in the off season going over some of our favorite moments during the season. But yeah, SVG winning at the Chicago Street Course is definitely up there, one of the craziest moments in NASCAR's 75-year history in general, winning in his first ever career start at a track that NASCAR had never been to before, a new market that NASCAR is trying to experiment with. So yeah, that was definitely a good moment. Have a lot of drivers saying goodbye as well this year, specifically Kevin Harvick being probably the top of that list, and then a lot of drivers going to new places in 2024. People moving around in the Cup Series, people coming up from Xfinity and trucks up to the Cup Series, moving sponsors around, all that stuff. Once next season gets a little bit closer, we'll kind of redo everything just to kind of go into 2024.
Plus,
This person's here, that person's here.
we still have a couple cup rides that are open, so we're still waiting on those announcements. Mainly the 10 and the 16. And one
Yeah,
of the
there is a lot.
regulars.
There is a lot more news to come out over the off season, so we'll keep you guys updated throughout the off season. Don't worry, we'll give you guys some off season content to talk about, and also one of our favorite videos of the year is going over our favorite paint schemes, so we'll do that at some point as well. I know we're very excited for that video. But thank you guys for riding with us this season. We appreciate it. Our channel has grown a lot over this past 2023 season. We appreciate all the love and support. Make sure you guys stay subscribed to the channel. Make sure you check out our social media pages for updates throughout the off season. But until the next time, we will see you guys in our next video.